Mike Moore Media, the first place to hear Rockingham County news and information.
On this edition of Rise Up Reidsville, I'm talking to Fire Chief David Bracken. He has some good information to share with us. Hey, Chief, how are you, sir?
I'm doing great. What about yourself?
I'm doing well, too. Well, I know we just had a cooking fire, started there in the kitchen yesterday in Reidsville. So we're talking about fire safety and making sure that we're doing the right things when things like this happen. So let's jump right in. Fire safety in the home, our topic today, Chief. So where do you want to start?
Well, let's start with the cooking fire, for instance.
Okay.
There are a couple of things that people need to be made aware of. When you have a pot on the stove, you should have a lid for it, especially if it's a grease fire, because if it flames up, it's as simple as putting a lid back on it that will make the flame go down and go away. You don't want to introduce air to it or put water on it or anything like that. But, the main thing is not panic. Mm-hmm. Then secondly, in kitchen areas and cooking areas, it doesn't hurt to have a small fire extinguisher, ABC fire extinguisher, handy as well. But the main thing is not to panic in those situations, but use good judgment. The key to it is having things in place that will help you in case you do have a flame up or a flare up while you're cooking.
Yeah, and I know you were telling me right before we started that the fire yesterday, a kitchen fire, they opened the doors and tried to get, and that was not the right thing to do.
Right, they were trying to clear the smoke out, but it actually fed the fire.
Yeah.
First thing we have to do is cut the oxygen off to the fire, and a simple lid on a pot can do that.
Mm-hmm.
Or closing another door can do that.
Yeah, just a lid on the pot. What I've always heard about throw baking soda on a fire. Is that a good idea?
Well, I think the thing that's really going to be effective is cutting the oxygen off to it. So the lids are the best thing to do. If you're going to use anything other than that, I would suggest a fire extinguisher above anything that you can do. Baking soda can be effective, but the fire extinguisher is designed for putting the dry chemical element agent over and cutting the oxygen supply off to the grease fire, the cooking fire. So it's going to be more effective than anything you can do. One of those. Just
kill the oxygen.
That's right.
Yeah, always the best.
Fire will go out.
Mm-hmm. Okay. All right. Well, I know we hear about cooking fires from time to time, and particularly around Thanksgiving and all of those turkeys that seem to, people drop those things down in that hot oil. And boy, we got a problem there real fast, haven't we?
Certainly. People need to be familiar with their device that they're using, their appliance that they're using. If they don't do anything else but measure with water first, take whatever size or poundage of turkey that they're using, and just practice, drop it in there and see where the water line comes up to, because you don't want to overfill it so that it overflows. That's how a lot of fires start. So some simple practice is essential when you're not sure about or not familiar with new appliances that you're using and stuff like that.
Yeah, okay. That's a good idea about just kind of run a test on that. Okay, let's talk about electrical fires and some do's and don'ts there, Chief.
Well, one of the things with, especially during the winter season with these space heaters, space heaters, if you have to use one, they should be plugged directly into a wall, not with cords, because cords tend to generate heat, and sometimes the drop cords that people try to use with electric space heaters are not adequate enough to carry the current that goes through them. It causes the cord to heat, which you typically can end up in a fire. So it's real important to make sure that even during the holiday season, those that use Christmas decoration, that you make sure you have the proper surge protectors. If you are plugging lights into multiple light sections into a drop cord, you should need to make sure that it has a surge protector, built-in surge protector. These help prevent fires as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Unfortunately, we get those stories every now and then about those extension cords and the heaters and people. I've heard people plugging in refrigerators to extension cords. Oh my goodness.
Yeah. Any appliance or that has that much current flowing through it needs to be a direct plug-in into to a wall socket. It should have a permanent source for plug-in as opposed to running cords to them.
Yeah.
That's definitely a no-no.
Yeah. Recently, my wife bought an extension cord that did not have a UL seal, and I refused to use it. I think she finally took it back. That should not be on the market, should it?
It should. Unfortunately, there's some out there, but when you don't see a UL label, that means it hadn't been approved or hadn't been tested. So it's important to always remember that everything needs to be authenticated through the proper testing agency, which it doesn't guarantee 100% it's going to work properly, but at least there has been somebody's put their seal of approval on it. It says it's supposed to work the way it's designed to work, and that's important.
Mm-hmm. Sure. Okay. All righty. Let's talk about home heating issues, Chief.
Well, typically this time of year, there are not a lot of homes that have wood-burning stoves, but still there's some, and the important thing there is to make sure that the chimneys are clean and make sure that all pipes are secured to the wall, and also the dampening devices work the way they're supposed to. One of the big things that is more applicable to most homes are when you have gas heating units, that there should be a carbon monoxide detector in all those homes, because carbon monoxide is a byproduct of incomplete combustion, and many times the only way that you can detect is with a detector, because it's odorless. You can't smell it, and you don't even know that it's present without a carbon monoxide detector. The other element is that some people typically use these kerosene heaters. They're really only designed for ventilated areas, and I see people all the time that have used them, and the windows are closed, there's no ventilation in the home, and then they get a headache from it, or it's knocked over. There's just all types of things you have to be careful of, but especially this time of year, that if you do use wood, that you make sure that chimneys are clean, pipes are fastened properly, dampening devices are working in the way they're supposed to work, and with space heaters, just make sure that there's a direct plug-in into the wall. And if you just so happen to have to use a kerosene stove or anything like that, make sure that the house has proper ventilation.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I've heard of people, unfortunately, heating their home, keeping their oven door open. What do you tell us about that?
Well, first of all, it's very expensive.
Yeah.
Electric range to heat your home. It's not effective, it's not efficient, and it is dangerous because many of you know the temperature from an oven can, when it rises to a certain level, anything that comes into contact with it becomes a fire, potential for fire. So, and also a potential for burns, because people, sometimes children can get close to it or walk by it and touch it or rub up against it, when they're trying to warm something or warm their hands or stuff like that, and that can be very dangerous.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, you mentioned carbon monoxide detectors, and we have that. We have smoke alarms and all of that, and I feel safe there, comfortable with that. What's a good rule of thumb? How many should you have based on how many bedrooms, or how does that work?
Well, you should always have one that's adjacent to sleeping areas, one off the kitchen. It depends on the square footage of the house. A good rule of thumb is maybe a couple for every 1,000 square feet. Mm-hmm. It's a good one, but it depends on how the layout of the house. Now, here's the key to it. Smoke alarms are only going to be effective as much as we will inspect and change those batteries.
Oh, yeah.
Now, twice a year, whenever we change time, would be a good rule of thumb to change the batteries in smoke detectors to ensure that they are in good operation when they're needed.
Mm-hmm. So twice a year at time change.
At time change. That's
yeah,
a good
okay.
rule of thumb. Just change it. Go ahead and change the batteries in the smoke detector.
And those things don't last forever. You put one up and think, well, I'll just change the batteries and I'm good to go. But you need to just get a new one every now and then, don't you?
Yes, when you change the batteries and they're still beeping, it's time to. And it's not a battery issue. It's time to change it. Here at the Reidsville Fire Department, if you need a smoke detector, we give them away free. So there's really no excuse for not being able to get a smoke detector. Our can trailer that you see on William Street, we make a contribution to the burn center every year, but also when those cans are processed and sold, the proceeds go toward batteries and smoke detectors. So.
Mm-hmm. And I think that's a wonderful service that you provide, and you've done that for years, and other fire departments around the county. Free smoke detectors. Just come in and get one. Sometimes I hear people actually from the department actually go out and put them up.
That's right. We'll put them up for you, too. Just call and we'll make an appointment and come out and put them up for those that can't put them up.
That is very, very easy. Yeah, there's no excuse.
Very easy.
Yeah.
Very easy.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, Chief. Wonderful tips. Thank you. We've got a couple of minutes. Anything else you need to mention, sir?
Well, I want to mention the importance of, in case of fire, these what we call a home escape plan.
Mm.
What we find so oftentimes is that when people have a fire, it's helter-skelter. People run around looking for their family members. But you have a home escape plan. If the house catches on fire, depending on what part of the house that you're in, this is the way out. If you can't go out that way, then you have an alternate way out. But most important is you have a meeting place outside when you come outside, so that everybody can be accounted for quickly and effectively.
Oh, that's so important. And I'm sure you've seen over the years where that saved lives.
It saves lives, and it saves us time, because when we get there, when we can account for everybody, we can go directly to taking care of the fire and trying to save the home and the contents and the property when we know that everybody's out and everybody's safe.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you, Chief.
Thank you so much.
For people that may not know, how many how many stations do you have in Reidsville, and how many on staff? And I know there's still a shortage of volunteers, isn't there?
Yeah, that's everywhere. This day and time in which we live, you just don't have a lot of people that lifestyles have changed, but it seems to be you just don't have a lot of people that are involved in giving back to the community like that. But we have 3 stations, and we have 8 people per shift. So any given day, you have between 7 and 8 full-time firefighters on duty, 24/7. We have a number of part-time employees, so we try to supplement our full-time staff with 3 or 4 what we call, they're not volunteers, we call them part-timers, because all of them are paid, that come as well to help supplement our manpower.
Okay. Well, I know it takes a special person to do what you do. How long have you been in fire service, Chief?
January the 13th will be 33 years.
33 years. Wow.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Wow. Well, happy anniversary coming up, January 13th. Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Well, thank you for that, your dedication. That's great.
Thank you, sir.
And thanks to you and the team there and at the stations, and always being there when we need you. And I appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Okay.
All you do.
Good to talk to you. Reidsville Fire Chief David Bracken with us. Some good information. I appreciate that. Our program is sponsored by the Reidsville Chamber of Commerce and Visitors Center and Strader Shoe Store. Wishing you a Happy New Year. And I remind you, as always, to get more information on what's happening around the city at riseupresreidsville.com.